I was definitely a kid that always had chocolate at the corners of my mouth. So at any point, if I'll look out for you if you look out for me.
Okay.
So. Well, Letha, thank you so much for doing this. It's so exciting to sit down and chat with you.
Thank you, Sasha. Thanks for having me.
So I guess starting off, can you tell us in your own words who you are and describe your practice?
Who am I?
Who are you?
It's an existential question. My name's Letha Wilson, and I'm an artist and visual artist. You know, I basically have always been really interested in specifically in the landscape, and also in the image or photograph of the landscape. And I don't know, at the same time, I've always been so drawn to sculpture as like the thing in the room that you can really put in a box, so to speak, or that kind of broke rules. And I was always really excited about that. So I feel like my work has been about kind of grappling with this sort of beautiful image of the landscape and how can it be made contemporary, and how can it not just be relegated to a calendar or Ansel Adams or Instagram.
For people who maybe aren't familiar with your practice, you know, there's like this, as we've said, like this ongoing motif of like nature imagery sort of getting captured in the space that you get to physically be, where you're physically traveling to, and then kind of brought back to the studio and sort of reformatted or like rethought and reconfigured in some fashion. So I was wondering if you could talk about more like the relationship between, maybe we could start off with like the natural versus urban spaces and how you're sort of talking, how do you think through that relationship when thinking about a piece?
It's been interesting for me, like having lived in the city for so long, and then having this sort of like memory or nostalgia of like Colorado, but also I think there's something interesting about these spaces that feel almost like timeless, like in this landscape that has no referent point with architecture, human roads, even how then it could be now, or it could be hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago, you know, so you have this sense of kind of like that space like eluding a time frame. Mm-hmm. And whereas here, everything is kind of marked by, you know, sky rises and changing environments, and like, you know, when it was. And I don't know, the sort of passage of time is quite different here and there, but the sort of how the image can travel between place, not just geographically, but also in sort of time. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like, it's always, sometimes I think like at this very moment, there's this amazing sunset happening in like Utah, mm-hmm. and it doesn't seem possible because you're here in like boxes, and sometimes you don't even notice when the sun sets often.
I would say like now it really feels like you have this component, these sort of several mainstays of your art practice, whether it's cutting photographs, sort of doing this experimental darkroom printing, and then like the concrete pours. And I was just sort of wondering, like, I mean, I know a little bit from like working for you, but sort of like what was the motivation to sort of figure out those processes, especially the experimental darkroom printing and the concrete pours? Like, I don't know anybody else who does it like you. So like, how are you motivated to figure that out? And then like, how did you do that?
There's so many years where it's just like, I need to be a better artist. I need to be a better artist. I need to be a better artist. It was like my mantra. Mm-hmm. It was like, I need to make better work. I need to make better work. I knew that like, that was what I needed to do. Like, it sort of didn't matter. Like, everything else was just like excuses. Like, I just needed to make the work. But to like figure out how to do that meant time and like persistence and like carving it out of your psychic space and your like time frame. So, and even when I had the basement in my studio, like a studio in the basement, I'd have to like make myself go down there. And then I needed like something to do. So I think like also having something you can always work on without having these like really expensive and cumbersome projects that you can only really like justify if you have a show or a grant or something, so that it becomes easier, like taking away the barriers that you have made for yourself to make art. Because there's a lot of excuses, like reasons why, I don't have the money, I don't have this. Well, obviously there's a lot of ways to like, it could be drawing in a notebook, you know, so a lot of it's just like getting that mental space and like the persistence of it continuously. So I decided, because I kept getting rejected, that I would just give myself an artist residency at my parents' house. You may have heard this story.
I love that.
My mom sent me an acceptance letter. You can go to my Instagram
that's
account
so
to
sweet,
see it.
really?
And she like sent it with like marble paper.
Did she model
So
the
cute.
language after like?
I don't know how she wrote. She wrote an amazing letter that was very resembled a real residency letter quite well.
Man,
But it was signed Mom with like a heart.
I love that so much.
So she
What a
like
supportive
came to the
mom.
residency. And when I went there, I was actually making some like really stupid drawings I made for many years that I don't even really like at all now. But it was just sort of doing something. But the other thing was like I had time to read Walden and read books and just think and have space and have, you know, Mom make me dinner. And when I came back from that trip, I feel like I was completely energized. Like that's when I had all these ideas. That's when I was like, I'm going to go to the darkroom because I just want to be able to move more fluidly through my process. I want to develop a practice in my studio where I always have something to do. And I was so scared, like, I didn't remember how to print really, so I was just kind of winging it, and this is like, but I just kind of kept doing it and starting small. And the thing is, I was there for, like, I wasn't trying to make the prints that other people were trying to make, because other people in there are trying to make a perfect print, and they spend all this time on like one image perfection. And I just like, I'm like frantically trying to get an image in the world, like in physical form. So I'm just like rapid fire, like printing. It was sort of like that process that like led gradually to really like experimentation, really specifically with the print, like the C print material, like that kind of paper, because that paper folds quite differently than Canson print paper, whatever it is. Like, so for many years, I feel like it was like a real investigation into what can that C print do and how it behaves and how can it, when I bend it, do I mount it to something? And then that's like kind of when I started using concrete. It was like a material I was interested in. So what if I pour concrete on it? What if I pour concrete in a photo? And once I started doing that, I was like kind of amazed at how these materials coexisted. And it just led to like this whole road of like works.
It sounds like you've been in a either two-person show or solo show consistently since like 2009. Like your work really does get like a lot of well-deserved shine. So, you know, it's exciting to hear like how you've come to that. And like that said, I mean, you sort of have talked about how you've dealt with a little bit of rejection from residencies or like other opportunities. So even though it's gotten a lot of attention, like I also know from behind the scenes that like you've had to put yourself out there like so much in order to even get those opportunities. So what are other things that you've done to sort of like help deal with rejection or just like build stamina over time?
I mean, here's the thing. Like when I moved to New York, when I first moved to New York, I realized that my art education at Syracuse and undergrad did not prepare me at all for like life in the city, not just life living, but like the art world here. Whatever I'd been learning in school was 20 years, 30 years behind. Like, so I moved here feeling like I had a lot to catch up on, you know. And you see these like movements when you've been around, or you'll see these like, that's the one thing is you'll see like, oh, everyone's really into like architectural da-da-da, and they're like, no, and then we're like into Amy Silman and like abstraction, and then no, and then we're into like people, and then we're into like, you know, this, and like these like waves of things. Because I remember once there was a show at Artist Space on like airplanes, and I remember being like, how random, like, and this person's so lucky because they happen to make airplane art, and they're going to be in this airplane show. And then I was like, you can't, and I just realized you can't really like try to chase that dragon or like catch the wave of the cool thing. You have to just like carve out your niche, carve it out real hard, and then like eventually that wave will hit you. And also like what I think this was really important, it was like you can't control whether people like your work or not.
Yeah.
You straight up can't. Like you might wish to God this curator would just, oh, look at my thing. You can't control whether they like it. You have to let it go. Like I feel like artists get so worked up, and it's about time like, oh, I wish they'd look at my work or like my work, and you just can't. That's like wasted energy. So put the energy back into your studio. Put the energy back into the work. Like, what can you control? What time you wake up? How long are you going to stay at the studio? How diligent are you going to be? What are your, you know, finish that piece you want to finish. That's on you. So I think that we have to like, and try to like keep the energy in the studio, and that's like the main home, you know, for the work.
So, Letha, the last bit of the interviews is we always do a game of
I was prepared for this.
Fuck, Marry, Kill. You have...
Thankfully, I'm really glad I watched your videos, otherwise I would have been like, what?
So you have Ansel Adams,
Okay.
you've got Andy Goldsworthy, and you've got Nancy Holt.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think I would have to... Okay, marry Andy Goldsworthy, fuck Nancy Holt, and kill Ansel Adams.
That was my pick too. That's what I had already decided, and I was really
Yeah.
hoping that'd be the case.
Yeah.